Hello and welcome to another update video on Bitcoin. So this weekend is damage report weekend. I've gone through quite a lot of charts yesterday. Today I'll cover many more. By the way, we have our community live session today, 5 p.m. UTC. Feel free to join as a member. We're going to cover, well, typically 30 to 50 charts, and we're going to dive through the altcoin jungle. So if you have a specific request or question, that's the best time and place to ask for it. 90 minutes of, yeah, you could say altcoin madness. Or at least we talk about the markets. Yeah, it's all about preparation for the coming week. Try to give you all the relevant information there. And, your questions will guide the session. That's going to be at 5 p.m. UTC. So we're here on the daily time frame. Again, I just said it. It's about damage reporting this weekend. I think Bitcoin has calmed down a little bit, has settled a little bit. It's still not very clear if we're turning around from here, but I think the last low from Friday, it has the potential to be a meaningful low, but it's too early to say. That's why I did not want, or I don't yet want to, provide any meaningful microstructures. But I will show you what the micro support area is that we're tracking. And just as a reminder, this move to the downside from an Elliott Wave point of view can still be called an ABC structure. Yeah. Some people ask me, are these wicks and everything meaningful and everything? But yeah, we have to use all the data for our analysis, because in the end, even though a liquidation event was, I don't know, even if you say it was kind of, not all of it was real, yeah, because some of the wicks on Binance are completely insane, and Binance already admitted that some of their processes failed. It's still data we have to use, and across the sector, we just have to find a good way of finding the lows that were actually kind of real. But it's about understanding sentiment, right? And we have to use all the data, and people sold and bought around those prices. So it's all related to sentiment, exactly what Elliott Wave teaches us. Now, this cycle has, for Bitcoin, I mean, it's just been perfect. I mean, Bitcoin has formed a perfect upside impulse in this cycle. For those of you who have been with us since 2021, and I mean, unfortunately, this channel didn't start in 2020, or we'd be much further ahead. Yeah, also with, let's say, spreading the word of Elliott Wave at least. We started in the end of 2021, right, and recognized very early in the process that a bear market had started. Most haven't recognized it, or most didn't recognize until the price broke below 30K. I know we still have members, community members that are with us from back then, like 4 years ago. And again, back then, it was November 21 when the market topped, right? So it's often in Q4 that we see substantial market tops. In December 2017, the time before, I mean, we had December, we had November. Is it going to be something different this time? Maybe. I mean, Bitcoin doesn't like to doesn't like to repeat things too much, I think, in terms of, topping. Because, look, in 2013, it was November as well. So we had November, December, November. Or is it maybe then December again, right? That can happen. But it's about helping people understand the value of this method, which is, in my opinion, better than any fear and greed index. It's sentiment, right? And I got the question in our member area, why, what's going on with altcoins in this cycle? And I know I should have made it maybe more my mantra or so, but I mentioned it so many times in live streams, on X, on YouTube, yeah, in articles that are posted on Discord. The reason why altcoins are not performing so well in this cycle is because Bitcoin, at least from what I can tell, is in a fifth wave. And whether that's true or not, that Bitcoin is really in this fifth wave, that's my thesis, wave 5 of 5. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. The forecast that many altcoins aren't going to perform great has worked out perfectly in this cycle. We saw it already early in the cycle when many coins started to form only diagonal structures. And those of you who've been following our work, you guys know exactly that diagonal structures are not to be trusted. That is different from the structures that formed in 2021. Yeah, 2020 and 2021. they were mainly impulsive. In this cycle, most altcoin structures were diagonals. I mean, whether you heard those comments about, that's the reason or not, it doesn't matter so much, because if you watch the altcoin videos, then you knew, and you still know, that at the very best, all the charts are moving in diagonals. There are a few exceptions that are forming impulses on a larger time frame, like maybe Ethereum, Solana, maybe, BNB. Most others, and maybe Link might be forming an impulse. There might be 2 or 3 others. Some meme coins have given us impulses, but again, they are meme coins, so don't trust them. When they break, they break. But overall, the vast majority of altcoins have moved in diagonal patterns, and that was our warning that the altcoin season might not be as it was in previous cycles. Because Bitcoin moving in a 5th wave on a larger time frame means the sentiment is just not as it was in 2021 in a 3rd wave and in 2017, which was the larger degree 3rd wave. Yeah, also a 5th wave, but it was it was like the heart of the 3rd wave, this thing, right? And now we are in a larger 5th wave, which started in 2018. And then even in this 5th wave, we're in a 5th wave. I warned already early in the cycle that the altcoins are likely not going to be that explosive as they were before. We can still watch for setups, but that's just as a reply to a question. And I will explain that more and more, because so people see the value of Elliott Wave. Because throughout this entire cycle, whether it was in live streams or in the videos, we saw mainly diagonal structures. And that's so important, just so important to understand the value of that and to understand the meaning of that, right? That diagonals, they change very often. I say it all the time, right? And people don't understand what that means until they actually see it in the market. That's why, the altcoins have not performed very well, because this is not the right sentiment. Bitcoin is like the main sentiment index, you could say, for the crypto market, like the S&P 500 for the stock market. And if Bitcoin's chart doesn't show us we're in that kind of mood, in that kind of investor, trader mood, in that social mood, then altcoins just have it much more difficult. In addition to that, you have all the other problems, like too many altcoins, right? No real fundamentals that you can use in crypto, because, most of these are not real projects, they are experiments, right? So all of that comes on top, and the dilution of money and everything. But yeah, just wanted to explain that and take the opportunity to also show you that we are in the late stages of the cycle, which if you've been following my channel. I still think we could see another high. For really more detail about the larger degree, larger time frame, make sure that you follow our MCO Global channel. I can only recommend it. That is the channel where we cover larger time frame structures. I've been focusing a lot on altcoin season. Yeah, not me saying there will be a wild one, but explaining what it actually means in this cycle. And then Bitcoin, larger degree. So check it out. It's the MCO Global channel. You can find it on YouTube. I also covered recently Ethereum, long-term charts and everything. So check it out. But I think it's very helpful for those who are looking for orientation in this market, especially after an event like this. Daily chart-wise, this can still be seen as a 3-wave move down. I just showed you the larger degree, larger time frame structure, and we're pretty much at the top, right? But that doesn't mean we have topped. Certainly the headwinds are getting stronger, but the fact that Bitcoin is still holding above the September low, and by the way, on some exchanges, it didn't even drop below the September low. Here, on the index chart, we've dropped below and recovered. But we're back above the September low. The fact that this is the case indicates to me that main sentiment hasn't really shifted yet, and we're not in a bear market yet. We might be, but there's no evidence for it. We're also holding still above all the main EMAs that we've been tracking in this cycle. Hold on, where are we with those? The 21-week and the 55-week EMA. 21-week is currently being tested around 111, 112K. 55-week EMA is below us, just below 100K. That is for me the main, moving average, you could say, in this cycle, because most of that cycle has happened above it. And we had recent tests, not recently, but it was in last year, 2 tests in 2024, a couple of tests here in 2025, and we had no weekly close below. So once we start to get breaks below and weekly closes below, it might get a bit dangerous for the bulls. And this is maybe the first indication we could get that the bull market is over, even though from an Elliott Wave point of view, we might want to give it more room. So there will be further support levels to watch, but I think probabilities for a bullish cycle will start to reduce. That might be the time from when I will start to look lower, okay? Getting a weekly close below the 55-week EMA. Now, what we now need to watch for today, daily candle close, or weekly candle close rather. I think it will be important after such a week to see how Bitcoin behaves around the weekly candle close. Also how the ES futures, so the S&P 500 futures opens, the Nasdaq futures later in the day. That will all shape how Bitcoin performs. Over the coming week. So we will definitely keep a close eye on that. I'll talk a bit more about that in our live stream if you want to see it. And other than that, there are two pathways. One more high from here is possible, like that in a fifth wave towards 136K. That hasn't changed because Bitcoin has only remained in a range. The altcoins have suffered. Bitcoin has suffered as well, but it's not to a degree that would be super unusual for Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, kind of, but look, we had a similar drop in February 25. And so this is not necessarily super unusual for Bitcoin also here in July 24. It was more the altcoins that really suffered. You know what? And the reason for that? Bitcoin dominance, right? Bitcoin dominance, our focus here for quite some time, was meant to go up from the September lows, and it did. And that, you could say that, okay, this was kind of an external event and everything. But I mentioned exactly on that MCO Global channel in one of the recent videos that in all scenarios, up, down, or sideways for Bitcoin dominance, I don't want to say it was supposed to go up, and the market is not supposed to do anything, but it was likely. And so we've just seen that, yeah? Market dropping, Bitcoin dominance up, because that's when Bitcoin will drop less, normal, in panic phases. So we've reached our resistance area for Bitcoin dominance, exactly what Elliott Wave also suggested, yeah? And by the way, I mean, this also Bitcoin dominance has worked out nicely. It moved up all the way to the top of that range here, that Elliott Wave triangle. It's actually a perfect triangle, A, B, C, D, E. And now we're waiting to see if we can get that E wave down. Yeah, so basically another low in the internal C wave, possibly to 52 to 48%. We'll see. There is no evidence at this point that we've topped, just a first rejection from resistance. I mentioned to you before that Bitcoin dominance likes to react to Fibonacci levels, even though Elliott Wave analysis for this, I don't want to say asset, but for this index here, is for this ratio, is kind of to be taken with a pinch of salt. But you see, Fib levels are working, and now it's in the next zone. So we'll definitely keep watching how it gets affected here as well. Looking at the shorter time frame, well, we are here still in our Fibonacci support zone I shared yesterday. 107,550 to 111,240 remains our Fib zone. And from here, if we see move up today, yeah, and a break above 112,650, yesterday's high, and then the Friday high at 114,970, it might take us higher in a C-wave rally. That still needs to be seen. I'm not going to put any, let's say, large accounts on here or something, and this is still very much, I think if this holds or not will be decided when the weekly candle closes. So I'll keep you updated about that. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you're interested in additional updates, make sure to join us today for our member live session, 5 p.m. UTC, here on our channel page. Sorry, I've got dark mode activated. Looks a bit strange here on YouTube. There's a trailer here, a trailer video, which explains the membership benefits. You get member-only videos, additional posts, also during turbulent times like these. I try to give you updates all the time on Discord. So as a gold member, you can join Discord. As a member, you can join our live session today. It will be interesting. Check it out. The link has been posted. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.